Journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick torches the Saints defense. The Bucs put up 48 points and hang on to make New Orleans 0-1. So what's wrong with the Saints secondary? Plus, LSU shuts out Southeastern, but the Tiger offense ran into some problems. And Tulane gets its first win as the Wave pulls away from Nichols. The Saints defense couldn't get off the field as the Tampa Bay Bucs run up 529 yards of total offense. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to 4th Down on 4. Does this loss affect your opinion of the Saints? How concerned are you? That's our 4th Down on 4 poll question tonight. Do you think it's no big deal, meaning you're still sure the Saints are going to be playoff bound, or are you a little concerned, or do you think it's time to push the panic button, as in the playoffs are now seriously in doubt? Vote now on our mobile app or on our website. And the star of the game, Tampa Bay's other quarterback. 35-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick had played in 133 NFL games over 14 seasons, but he's never had a day like Sunday in the Superdome. Fitzpatrick threw for 417 yards, the most in his career, and his quarterback rating was a near-perfect 156.2, the best of his career. The reason? He was never challenged, never bothered, never harassed. The Saints got 0 sacks and very little pressure.
First of all, we didn't get him in positions where they really had to drop back and hold the ball and do what we wanted them to do. You know, they were able to run the ball effectively enough to keep them in manageable situations on 3rd down.
They ran the ball, passed the ball, converted on 3rd down, converted in the red zone. So, you know, give Tampa Bay credit. They won today.
We got 24 hours, 24-hour rule in effect. We have to wipe our mind clean of this catastrophe that just happened.
They had 2 or 3 guys hitting Cam Jordan every play. I mean, that's smart. That's smart. They don't want to get after the quarterback and disrupt. So they had a great plan, executed their plan.
We didn't hurry the passer. Guys were open. 3rd downs were awful. They had over 500 yards. So we didn't disrupt the timing of any element to the passing game. And too many penalties. I can't think of many positives. So
nothing went well for the Saints defense, but if you're looking for signs of hope, the Saints' 39-year-old quarterback was brilliant. Drew Brees was 37 of 45 for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Drew was on point. He was on point. He was in the groove. I've seen him in this mode quite a few times, and it's a special thing to watch.
He was fantastic. Great leader, great poise, knows how to respond in situations. You're never out of a game with a guy like that behind the center, and we have to know that and take pride in that.
Mike Thomas caught a team record 16 passes for 180 yards, but he also lost a critical fumble. And this Mike Gillislee fumble really hurt. It opened up a 14-point lead for the Bucs. They eventually stretched that lead to 24 points. And maybe the most improbable thing of all, as bad as it was, with 3 minutes left in the game, the Saints actually still had a shot. They had Tampa backed up to a 3rd and 11, and then this happened. Fitzpatrick capped the best day of his professional career by running for 12 yards and a game-ending 1st down.
I said earlier this week that he was a lot more deceptively fast than people thought he was. We had that in game plan to try and take care of that. He did a great job in evading us.
But bottom line, it is week 1, and although Sean Payton said nothing translates from last year to this year, last year taught us it's definitely possible to be bad at the start and really good down the stretch.
It's week 1, we're not going to panic. We're going to respond. We're going to come back to work and put our head down and work harder and correct our mistakes and look ourselves in the mirror and be completely honest with ourselves, because if we want to win, that's what it's going to take.
We've been here. Listen, adversity, nothing brings guys together like adversity. You know, I think especially this team, you know, with what we went through last year, it's not new territory. It's obviously not something we want to deal with early in the season, but it's something we've dealt with. Listen, the great thing about this game is you get another week to go out and prove yourself again. So we'll go back to the drawing board, review this tape, critique ourselves, and get ready to play again next week.
Yeah, we concentrated a lot there on the lack of a pass rush, but the Saints' coverage wasn't good either. That's where Andrew Doak picks up the story from the Superdome.
For the Saints, this is what's defined as a wake-up call.
It wasn't expected. We set our goals in the beginning of the season be much better than this, and it was like a poor performance by us. We take full credit for it.
As bad as the Saints defense started last season, and remember, it was bad, never did they give up over 40 points in a game last year. And yet this season, they did it in week 1.
I mean, they just won 50-50 balls, everything they won. They beat us, you know. I mean, that is what it is.
We didn't challenge them at all. They was hot coming out the gate, and we was poor on third down. We just got to get right.
Lattimore said after this one that they needed to get slapped in their face one good time to recognize that they're not on the level that they think they are. And the Saints secondary needed a splash of cold water as much as anyone, as they let Bucs backup QB Ryan Fitzpatrick toss for 417 yards and 4 touchdowns.
We don't want to start it off like this, you know what I'm saying? So, we know we got the firepower and on offense and defense to turn it around, first game. But of course, if our offense scored 40 points, we can't lose.
A key one-on-one matchup came between Lattimore and Bucs Pro Bowl wide receiver Mike Evans. The two have been linked since last season when a scuffle led to a 1-game suspension for Evans. Evans has historically struggled in New Orleans and against Lattimore last season. Against number 23, Evans only had 38 yards receiving and 0 touchdowns in 2 matchups. But that changed today, as Evans went for 7 catches, 147 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown on this 50-yard scorcher where he cooked Lattimore.
Yeah, he had some plays. He won a 50-50 ball, I mean, it is what it is. It's NFL. Everybody gonna have their day, so.
Sunday felt a little like deja vu from how the Saints season started in Minnesota last year. But maybe, just maybe, this is the phone ringing to let them know they'll get left behind in last season if they don't pick up the phone. From the Superdome, Andrew Doak, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Andrew. One of the things we talked about a lot in the offseason was who would take Mark Ingram's touches. By the end of last season, Alvin Kamara was getting it 19 times a game. Ingram was getting it 17. That's 36 combined running back touches. Because of the way this one played out, Kamara got it 17 times, but Mike Gillislee got it just 3 times. Sean Payton said that's not the type of game that suits us. That's the type of game we played in years past when we were a 500 team. The Saints spent all afternoon playing from behind because the defense couldn't get off the field. Now for some analysis, I caught up with one of the best who covers the Saints. All right, joined by Nick Underhill from our partners at The Advocate. All right, where do you start on defense? To me, it's the fact that you got no pressure. That was the one thing that got to me first. What did you pick out first as your number one thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, if the team slogan was prove them right after today, I think it's prove them wrong. I mean, they're going to have to come back and show that this defense isn't the defense it was the last 3 years, that last year wasn't a fluke, that this isn't 2013 going into 2014, and that there is talent here and they can get it together and make plays. I still believe that's possible. But today was really, really bad, and it kind of came out of nowhere. So it's going to take a little while to kind of do the autopsy on this one and figure it out. But look, they weren't making plays. There was no pressure. The run defense, which was terrible last year, was terrible again today. It was the secondary with these busted coverages that really shocked me the most, because that's supposed to be the strength of the defense, if not the team overall. And bringing in Patrick Robertson and Kurt Coleman was only supposed to help them get better organized, because the guys they removed were some of the culprits for those bad plays before. And it didn't work. And maybe it's just going to take some time, but this team needed to get off to a good start. Schedule is very hard after the bye, and they lost the game they should have won today.
Do you still feel like they have the pieces? I mean, when you look at this team, yeah, this team can still make a jump like they did last year. You see that?
I do. I don't think this is the end of the world, you know, but for a team with a lot of young players that's getting all this hype and all this Super Bowl talk and you know, this great team and everybody, you know, is kind of bequeathing them with everything before they ever played a game, maybe getting slapped in the face isn't the worst thing in the world. And maybe that's the wake-up call they need to kind of go back and say, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not the world's best cornerback right now. Maybe I still got to do some work and get some things done. And we'll see how they respond to it. You know, but it's week one. We've seen them come back from it. We've also seen them drown after losing very, very early in the season. But I think this team is too talented to not respond to this loss.
Yeah, and the one, to me, the one huge positive was your 39-year-old quarterback looked on top of his game as much as he's ever been. Agreed?
Yeah, no, he looked great. You know, the offense was very good. You know, in a game like this, you start to nitpick, and it's like, well, in the third quarter, there were these 2 3-and-outs, and it's like, well, they scored 40 points, so they probably did their job. And if you're looking at 2 3-and-outs, you know, there's a lot of problems elsewhere. So, yeah, he looked great. Michael Thomas looked great. I guess the one thing that surprised me is we spent a lot of time this summer talking about the added weapons, and it was kind of still like, you know, Alvin, Ted Ginn, Michael Thomas, with just a little bit of Ben Watson, and you know, where was Traquan Smith? And Cam Meredith was inactive, which was a surprise too. But, you know, I think once they get everybody going, this offense can be really, really good. It's just, you know, right now it's kind of they were playing the same old hits.
And we saw such an evolution in this team last year from week 1 to week 6 to week 12. And we saw a completely different team. Obviously, the hope at this point is that you do that again, right?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, last year after those first 2 games, I wrote so much about how much I thought the defense was going to be better during the offseason. After week 2 against the Patriots, I wrote a column apologizing for being so wrong. And then week 3, it was like, oh, you were actually right. It just took some time. So it might be the same thing this year. We know this team's good. You know, Marshawn Lattimore isn't a guy that gives up 100 yards every week. That was probably an out-of-character game. If it wasn't, we'll find out. And maybe there's a lot of fiction to things that we thought were facts. But, you know, right now I'm not ready to draw any conclusions on anything.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, the LSU defense dominated Southeastern, but the Tiger offense struggled at times against the Lions. And why does Joe Burrow refuse to slide and keep taking hits like this one? He gives us his answer. And later, we'll head uptown where one Tulane running back helped the Wave get past Nichols. Sources tell Eyewitness Sports it will not be the end of minor league baseball in New Orleans, but the Baby Cakes filed relocation papers this week. They are headed to Kansas. They'll leave when their new stadium is ready in Wichita. They will play here in Metairie at least one more season.
Working with the Pacific Coast League, working with the ownership was very important. They are committed to this community. They believe in this community. And that really says where Wichita is happening. That flag should be flying high for a lot of reasons. And today, especially so, that we should do that.
And the pitch, a fly.
AAA baseball is leaving, but sources say AA ball could be coming. The Baby Cakes were killed by high travel costs in the Pacific Coast League. A group of New Orleans investors is already working to get a AA team here for when the Baby Cakes leave. LSU had no trouble with Southeastern winning by 31 at Tiger Stadium Saturday night, but there are serious concerns that Ogeron and company will have to figure out in a hurry. LSU's shutout of the Southeastern Lions showed the Tigers learned something from last week's win over Miami, how to finish on defense in the second half.
Yes, no question. That's something that we talked about all week, about finishing, not giving up the big play, and they did it. I was very proud of the defense. I don't know Dave was too.
Just from last week, coming out in the fourth quarter, you know, the not laying an egg like we did last week in the fourth, giving out 2 touchdowns.
And it wasn't without some excitement, with receiver Stephon Sullivan pulling down a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. But the Tigers' offense did take a step back against the Lions Saturday night. Quarterback Joe Burrow was harassed, and many of the Tiger drives ended early due to penalties and inconsistent play.
Yeah, I would say I was hoping a little more execution on the offensive side all around. I don't think I did a great job leading tonight and portraying confidence, and that's going to be a big thing going forward for us.
Steve was telling me he should have got rid of the ball a little quicker. Receivers need to get open. It was a combination of everything. Their defensive line was penetrating. We couldn't protect Joe. When we did protect Joe, we dropped some balls. We just weren't very good on offense tonight, but we got the job done.
The offensive line struggled, partly due to the absence of left tackle Sadiq Charles, who along with linebacker Michael Divinity were suspended for Saturday's game, though both will return next week. And Burrow isn't exactly on the same page as his coaching staff when it comes to sliding at the end of a play.
We have to teach him how to slide. We have to teach him how to avoid the rush and how to get down when he needs to.
They told me to slide, but I'm not really a slider, so I think I can take a couple hits. I'll be fine. I don't know how to slide. No, I'm not a slider. Never practiced sliding, never will slide.
If Burrow gets injured, it's just Miles Brennan left at the quarterback position. But until the offense gets its legs, LSU's defense is ready to do the heavy lifting.
We just gonna do our job, and we want to continue to, have shutouts night in and night out. So if they can give us 3 points, I'm comfortable with us winning the game 3-0.
We're gonna have to cause turnovers. We're gonna have to set up our offense with good field position until we get better. I believe this offense is gonna get better as the season goes on.
The Tiger offense is going to have to do a lot more next week as SEC play begins with a tough road trip to Auburn.
I know Auburn is a great place to play. I've always watched the Iron Bowl when it's been on, and I'm excited to go in there and, show them what I can do and see how hostile those fans are going to be at us and see if we can handle it.
In my defensive group message, on our phones, I'm going to be preaching how good Auburn is, how good, we need to be locked in, and we'll have, a great approach to practice, and I think we're going to have an excellent practice every day this week, and we're going to be ready to go on the road and, take care of business.
LSU and Auburn kick off at 2:30 Saturday afternoon here on Channel 4. It's a monster test for the Tigers. We'll have the game and an eye on the Tigers post-game show with a ton of post-game interviews, analysis from Mike Detillier from 2:30 until 7. Join us Saturday afternoon. Still ahead, Tulane outlasted Nicholls Saturday night, in part thanks to its defense, which shut down Colonel quarterback Chase Forcade in the second half. That story when we come back. For Tulane, it's one win on the road to a bowl game. They need to win 6. For Nicholls, it's a huge step up in class and a great way to get ready for their Southland Conference schedule. And as expected, the Green Wave pulled away to win, as Ricardo LeCompte reports.
Tulane and Nicholls never met on the gridiron prior to Saturday night. And with all the momentum the Colonels entered Yeoman Stadium with, the Green Wave wanted to avoid falling victim to this new opponent. Tulane made sure not to, jumping out to an early lead on the legs of Corey Dauphine. The redshirt junior running back broke off 2 rushing scores of 38 yards and 69 yards.
I really had a chip on my back coming into this game. I wanted to do better than what I did last week. So I did a lot of film study. I did a lot of things to better me.
He plays up to his ability every day in practice, every game. He's a smart football player. A couple of the runs, he had really good downfield blocks. He's just a complete football player.
A career night for Dauphine, 152 yards and 3 touchdowns. His third came in the fourth quarter to put the game out of reach.
You got to be able to stop the run. We didn't stop the run. They did a great job, tremendous job in the second half. We got out of our gaps a couple of times, missed some tackles, but they got a good ball club. They did a good job.
Nicholls ran for 176. Quarterback Chase Forcade, the leading rusher, with 53.
That quarterback is we couldn't tackle him. I mean, we must have missed 10, 12 sacks on him, I'm guessing, and he's an excellent football player, and he just kept hanging around.
The former Rummel Raider responsible for the success of the Colonel's offense, but Tulane kept him in check in the second half, forcing 2 interceptions, one coming from fellow Catholic leaguer and former Brother Martin standout, Roderick Teamer.
Me and Chase, we were exchanging words throughout the game, a friend of mine, so it was fun to get it against him.
Tulane improved to 17-0 all-time against FCS squads. And this Nicholls team may be one of the top FCS teams in the country. A good win for the Green Wave, the first one to get them back on track.
Being able to bounce back game 2 and not have our head downs and just stay positive and being able to come out here and execute scheme way better.
Ricardo LeCompte, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Ricardo. Tulane's next 4. They're at UAB Saturday at noon. Then the following Saturday, they head to Ohio State. Ouch on that one. Then the American Conference starts play on Friday, the 28th, at home against Memphis. Then it's at Cincinnati. We're back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute. Interesting voting in our poll question tonight. I'm a little worried is the leader at the moment, and push the panic button is getting way more votes than I thought it would. Now, our morning show producers are already here. They like the